Okay, so let's get back to the contract. This is Section 5, deals with chargebacks. And in a sense, this has already been covered twice, because they're saying here that they have the right to go back and pull back from you money that may have been paid to you by mistake. They overpaid you, or they also have the ability to pay you additional compensation, like that's going to happen, if they underpaid you. And also, if for some other reason you owe the carrier money, well, they're going to take it out of your next settlement. And in a sense, this has already been covered twice before, because once under Section 3, term and termination, where they're saying that the agreement can be immediately and without prior notice canceled or terminated. And one of those reasons is that you have you're in default on an indebtedness to them. And I really don't understand that, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. But the other place that it's covered is in Section 2, Item C, where they talk about billing errors and an adjustment to your compensation. So it's already been covered a couple of times prior. But the thing I don't understand about it is, how can you be in debt to them if they're taking money out of your settlement every week and it's going into an escrow account, or it's going into maintenance funds, or whatever. They're taking this money out each and every week, and in addition to that weekly payment to them. And so what's going on that you have an indebtedness to them? Are they not running you enough? Maybe you're taking too much home time. Maybe that's it. If they're running you and they're loading you like they should be loading you, then you should, this should be a non-issue. But now, on that note, let me touch on something else. There's my own opinion, there's some ethical considerations when it comes to RE Garrison, because, for example, you will sometimes, especially if you're loading over in Milo's tea, you're going to sometimes, probably fairly frequently, see trucks over there with Campbell Transportation on the side of them. And where the ethical considerations come in is, how can someone who is a dispatcher for them, and he has his own little dispatch group, and he has people working under him in that dispatch group, then he goes and he's got, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 8, I don't know how many trucks. He's got several trucks that got from Garrison, leased on to Garrison, say Campbell Transportation on the side of them. So, I know for a fact that sometimes people in his group, people that he dispatches loads to, lease purchase operators, a load will be dispatched to you by, let's say, one of the people that works for him, and then he will go in and cancel, because it says canceled by with his name. He will go in and cancel that load, and then you'll get a lower paying load. See, this old boy, he's cherry picking the better loads, the better paying loads, in my opinion, to give his trucks those better paying loads and give you the lesser paying loads. And that's a huge conflict of interest and should not be allowed to take place. But it's also a big ethical, excuse me, it's also a big ethical question. And in my opinion, that speaks volumes about not only his character, but the character of those in charge of RE Garrison, the people whom you are giving your financial future to and that of your family. Because, I mean, after all, you're here to make money, and they're only concerned about themselves. You know, they're not living up to their obligations under the terms of this contract to you, in my opinion. But I mean, what the hell do I know? I'm just an old country boy. I don't understand all this sophisticated stuff. But anyway, that's pretty much what is covered on Section 5. But now here's the real kick in the teeth. I couldn't help but chuckle. Instead of, or in addition to, making the deductions authorized in Appendix A, carriers shall have the right to recover through collection agencies, litigation, the right to set off, and other available legal means any such amount independent contractor owes or comes to owe carrier under the terms of this agreement. I can't help but laugh at that. Because, again, you know, these things are non-specific, and it doesn't say that they have to discuss this with you ahead of time. But, you know, always ask for documentation, and then go back and research it yourself and make sure that it's legit, because, you know, them being the ones that's in charge of your money, they can create whatever the hell they want to create. But anyway, under Section 6, that's insurance. And the carrier on Section 6A, carrier's insurance obligations. It just simply says that they will maintain insurance coverage for the protection of the public, property damage, and cargo insurance for the equipment at all times while the equipment is being operated on behalf of them. All right. You, the independent contractor, shall maintain at your cost and expense the following minimum, these are the minimum, insurance coverages during this agreement. Non-trucking liability insurance, and that's bobtail insurance. And I know I've covered this before, but you only have to have bobtail insurance when you're not attached to a trailer. So if you're, let's say you're going bobtail from Garrison's yard there in Coleman, and you're going bobtail down to Milo's and pick up a preloaded trailer, or you're going to go up to Decatur and pick up a preloaded trailer. That's when you need bobtail insurance. And if you contact insurance companies, contact like OOIDA, for example. They have their own insurance company, and they have a hell of a good legal department. And that legal department deals with compliance issues. And they can explain to you that bobtail insurance coverages typically only last for 3 to 5 days. All right, and its sole purpose is just to make sure that you're covered when you're in transit from point A to B without a trailer. And that's it. That's all it covers. But here's the funny part of this, all right? Whenever the equipment is being operated on behalf of others pursuant to a trip lease, or whenever the equipment is being operated on behalf of an independent contractor alone, or in a combined single limit of not less than $1 million for injury or death to any person, damages property on any one occurrence. There's telling you here that you need to have that if you're going to trip lease, but then you're not allowed to trip lease. You know, I tell you one thing, I'll credit their attorney who drafted this with one thing. He does know how to baffle people with bullshit, because the way he writes things, there's a much cleaner and easier way to write things. And again, in the legal realm, it's not what you say, but how you say it. And he could have done a hell of a lot better job saying all of this gibberish. And that's, for the most part, what it is gibberish. It's a lot of it is written as if it's an afterthought. Oh, let's go back and add in, or blah, 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 blah. It'd give you a damn headache trying to read and reread and reread one section of this contract, because a lot of this, I believe, was created as an afterthought. You know, and he's trying to cover his ass and theirs at the same time. And what he's done is create a freaking mess. You know, there's a lot cleaner and easier way to say what he's trying to say here. Work injury insurance, which is basically that OCC insurance. It's kind of like compensation, or like a workers' compensation for those who are not employees. Right? That's what OCC insurance essentially is. And it says during the term of this agreement, you must maintain an insurance policy providing coverage for work-related injuries, right? And they'll gladly sell you this, you know, and take it out of your settlement every week, but I bet you're going to pay more for it. Independent contractor must satisfy this requirement by maintaining a policy of insurance through the Alabama Trucking Association Workers' Compensation Self-Insurance Fund. Well, they can't force you to buy insurance from any one party. What they can say is you're required to have it. All right. And then where you get it from, they can give you Alabama Trucking Association as an option, but and again, talk to your attorney to make sure that I'm telling you the straight of it. But I'm almost positive that they cannot force you, even under the terms of this contract, to get this insurance, this work injury insurance, through the Alabama Trucking Association. You should be able to go somewhere like OOIDA, for example, and get the OCC insurance. It's essentially the same thing. I think that they probably have a vested interest in getting it through, having you get it through the Alabama Trucking Association. But passenger insurance, if you're going to have a passenger riding with you, like your wife or kids or somebody, you need to make sure that you have coverage that will cover passenger. Other insurance. In addition to the insurance coverages required under this agreement, it is the lease, purchase, owner, operator, independent contractor's responsibility to procure, carry, maintain physical damage insurance, which is collision insurance. As provided in this agreement, independent contractor holds carrier harmless with respect to loss of or damages to independent contractor's equipment, trailer, or other property, and carrier has no responsibility to procure, carry, or maintain any insurance covering loss of or damage to your equipment. All right, and even though under the lease with Advantage Leasing, it tells you that you have no security interest in that equipment. You're basically just renting that equipment during the term of that lease. And at the end of that lease, then you'd have an option to buy that equipment. But until that time, all that money you're paying in does not give you any kind of equity in the equipment. You're not building up equity in it. You have zero financial interest in that piece of equipment. Yet here, because you're going to have to have insurance to cover that leasing company. And here they're telling you that they have the right to make sure you have all of these different coverages. They're trying to keep the two companies, Advantage Leasing and RE Garrison, separate, but at the same time, RE Garrison's trying to cover Advantage Leasing. Now, my guess is they're doing that primarily as a cost-cutting thing, so that RE Garrison and Advantage Leasing aren't both individually having to pay for all these other insurances and such as that. But that's just a guess on my part. Availability of insurance facilitated by carrier. Independent contractor may choose by initialing one or more boxes in the right-hand column of the attached Appendix B, authorize carrier to facilitate on independent contractor's behalf the insurance coverages required or made optional by this agreement. In any such case, carrier shall deduct from independent contractor settlement compensation amounts reflecting all of the carrier's expense and costs in obtaining and administering such coverage. So, here comes this markup thing again, because they're going to charge you for their administrative costs. They'll go out and they'll get whatever insurance they have and charge it all to you, regardless of cost. You need to be able to take your time, shop around, and get the best quote for you. Buy the insurance on your own and pay the premiums on your own. Carrier is authorized but not required to obtain such insurance at independent contractor's expense and deduct from independent contractor's settlement compensation amounts reflecting all of the carrier's expense in obtaining and administering such coverage. Independent contractor recognizes that carrier is not in the business of selling insurance and is not an agent of any insurance agency, carrier, or underwriter that may issue insurance coverages purchased through carrier. And any insurance coverage requested by independent contractor from carrier is subject to all terms, conditions, and exclusions of the actual policy issued by the insurance underwriter. Independent contractor waives any and all claims it may have at any time against carrier arising out of any failure on the part of any insurance agent, company, or underwriter to cover or honor the terms and conditions of any insurance policy. Carrier shall ensure that independent contractor is provided with a certificate of insurance for each insurance policy under which the independent contractor has authorized carrier to facilitate. So, this just says that they have the right to, at your request, to go out and get whatever insurance is needed and pass the costs on to you along with administrative fees and markup and all that kind of stuff. And If that's the way you want to handle things with them, then that's fine. And then Section 7, independent contractor, not an employee. This agreement is between two independent businesses that are separately owned and operated, meaning you and Garrison. It is expressly understood and agreed that independent contractor is an independent contractor for the equipment and driver services provided pursuant to this agreement. Independent contractor agrees to defend, indemnify, and hold carrier harmless for any claim, suits, or actions, including reasonable attorney's fees, and protecting carrier's interests brought by independent contractor. Independent contractors, employees, any union, the public or state and federal agencies arising out of the operation of the equipment or the providing of driver services under this agreement in accordance with 49 CFR section blah blah blah. Independent contractor and carrier hereby agree and acknowledge that independent contractor is an independent contractor. Wow. Of carrier who has currently met and will continue to meet the qualifying criteria of the carrier. Independent contractor also agrees to provide necessary documentation and apply for certification of its independent contractor status where mandated by applicable state law. Subject to applicable law, it is the sole responsibility of an independent contractor to select, purchase, or lease and finance the equipment, to decide where and how maintenance and repairs are performed. Well, that's kind of contradictory because they give you paperwork telling you when the truck needs to be maintained. To have sole direction of the means and manner of the hauling, the pickup and delivery of the cargo, as long as the same is in compliance with all federal, state, local regulatory requirements and requirements of this agreement, which is also kind of contradictory because then their own dispatchers will say, well, you need to be there by this time. Well, no, as an independent contractor, they cannot dictate your time. They can, if you're a plumber and I hire you on to do plumbing work on a new house that I'm building, I can hire you, we can agree on the price, and this is the scope of work that you're going to do. You're going to, add on these 2 bathrooms for me. You're going to provide all materials and labor, fixtures, all of it. And I'm going to pay you X number of dollars. And you agree in writing under the contract that it'll be done on or before whatever specified date. And that's where my input ends. I cannot give you tools to do the work with. I am not providing the materials. I do not dictate when you start your day, what days of the week you're going to work, when your day's going to end. None of that. That's all on you. And so, under the terms of their agreement as it's written here, then they and their dispatchers have zero input on when you pick up a load or when you deliver a load. They can say, okay, it needs to pick up on this date, it needs to be delivered by this date, and we have an agreement with the shipper or the receiver that it'll be there before this time. Great. So, that's where it ends. They can't call you, man, where you at? You're running late. So, if they do, you can tell them to kick rocks and go read their own damn contract. And to select all routes and decide all meals, rest, refueling stops, and decide the number of days per week and hours per day the equipment shall be in service. To meet carrier's customer demands, independent contractor agrees to make timely and safe deliveries of all loads and notify carrier when delivery has been made or will be delayed for any reason. So, whenever you make it, then you do your empty call. If you're going to be late, you let them know you're going to be late. Any person hired by an independent contractor to operate the equipment or to do any other labor needed pursuant to this lease agreement shall not be employees of the carrier. Independent contractor hereby assumes full control and responsibility for the selection, training, hiring, setting of grooming and dress standards, disciplining, discharging, and it just goes on and on and on. All acts and omissions and all other matters relating to or arising out of independent contractors' use or employment of drivers and laborers, and any and all other employees or agents of independent contractor that independent contractor may provide or use to perform any aspect of this agreement. Section 8. Upon termination of this agreement, contractor shall return any equipment, trailers, products, or other items belonging to carrier to the carrier's terminal. Independent contractor agrees to return any trailer equipment of any kind or purpose or chassis provided for its use by carrier in the same good condition as received by independent contractor. Reasonable wear and tear accepted, along with any and all other equipment and property belonging to carrier immediately upon carrier's request or upon termination of this agreement. In the event the trailer is not in as good condition as it was delivered by carrier, independent contractor hereby authorizes carrier to restore the trailer to proper condition and charge back to the independent contractor the cost of such repairs or reconditioning. Well, let me tell you a little story here. That's very subjective, number one, because again, it's up to their opinion. It should be being looked at by both you and them. And whenever you pick up your truck or your trailer, you need to be noting any kind of damages to the vehicle, taking photographs of it, so it's got a date and time and location, the photograph. And you can, that gives you a record so you can substantiate everything you say at a later date if needed. But their shop, if you go into their shop and you want to buy, let's say you want to buy a pigtail, well, those people in the shop ain't got a clue what they're going to charge you for that pigtail. You can ask whoever you want, even that Shane guy. They don't know. Those girls over there in payroll handle all that. They just send you an email telling you that it's being billed to you. You turn in your truck, they can do, under the terms of this, they can do whatever the hell they want to do to that truck. They put a brand new set of tires on that truck if they want to and charge it to you. You've already given them authorization to do so. So, I'm a little cautious about this. I think that needs to be carefully considered whenever you're looking at joining the ranks of RE Garrison. Should independent contractor fail to properly return any rented equipment, trailers, products, or other items, or otherwise fail to comply with this section, the carrier has the right to retake possession of said items and may do so without judicial process. The independent contractor agrees to reimburse carrier for any expenses incurred by carrier in recovering any such items. The independent contractor agrees that in the event it is necessary for carrier to enter upon private property or remove private property in order to recover its trailer and property, independent contractor does hereby irrevocably grant carrier or its authorized representatives permission to do so, and further agrees to indemnify and hold harmless carrier and its duly authorized agents from any form of liability whatsoever in connection with such repossession. Now, there's one glaring problem with this, in my opinion. Let's say that they have to go onto your property to get their equipment. What if they damage your fence getting it out? They tear a gate down. What if they run over your dog? You know, you've agreed here to hold them harmless of any liability, whether it's them or someone they've hired to go do that. You know, that's a good thing for them, but it sucks for you. So, you know, this is just one more of those little gotcha things that you had to be aware of in this contract with RE Garrison, because this is a very one-sided contract. It should be fair and amicable to both parties. I understand, you know, giving them a little bit of an advantage, but they're clearly trying to have their cake and still eat their cake and still have it. That's what I'm trying to say. They're trying to eat their cake and still have it. And in the real world, that just doesn't work. Carrier and its duly authorized agents for any form of liability whatsoever in connection with repossession. Independent contractors shall be liable for and pay the entire amount for each incident involving direct, indirect, or consequential damage, including but not limited to towing charges, replacement costs for a total loss arising out of or in connection with independent contractors' use of carriers' trailers. What about that? What all the insurance you had to pay for? Carriers' customers' trailers or other carrier equipment or equipment of any other carrier. Well, you know, they got no say for any other carrier. They ain't got a dog in it. That's between you and that other carrier. So you can tell Garrison to go kick rocks. Independent contractors shall be responsible for removing any identification devices from the equipment, whether it is the removal of any identification painted directly on the equipment or a decal. The decal and or paint shall be removed at the expense of the independent contractor. Carrier is not responsible for any damage resulting from the removal of the decals. Well, if you're removing them, you're responsible for it. As a condition precedent to the payment, any decals or other devices will be returned to carrier by independent contractor by either hand delivery or prepaid first-class U.S. mail within 3 days of termination of this agreement. Until this requirement is complied with by independent contractor, the carrier may withhold final payment due independent contractor. Oh, please. Now, some of this crap in here is just laughable. I'm sorry. But I'm going to stop right there on this video. The next one we're going to get into is operational expenses, and we'll move forward from there. Operational expenses will actually begin on page 10 of this 31-page document. So let's just take a break right there. You guys be safe. I'll see you next time. Bye.